basically what those guidelines are is don't expose yourself to excess number of persons who could be asymptomatic and infected, and then the person-to-person contact.
Hey guys, how you doing? Hope everyone's doing okay out there. Anyway, I just wanted to put this quick video up. They just had a press conference on CNN with the coronavirus task force. And I just wanted to mention one thing just to get people's opinions and see if they feel the same way about it as I do. Something that doesn't make sense to me is something that was said in the press conference was that Vice President Mike Pence said we will not be testing individuals that do not have symptoms of the coronavirus. I think this is a huge mistake. Now, I understand that there's a shortage in the number of tests out there. So I believe their thinking is we don't want to, quote, waste the test on somebody that's asymptomatic. But here's my point on this. Think about this. The people that are feeling really ill or feeling sick, they have some of the symptoms, the common symptoms, the cough, the fever. People that are experiencing that, you're going to assume the majority of them are going to self-isolate, right? They're not feeling well anyway. When you don't feel well and you feel sick, you're not going to be out visiting with people. You're not going to be out running around, going to the store and doing all these things simply because you don't feel well, right? For the vast majority of those people. Now, I'm not saying to stop testing people with that situation. Of course, you can keep testing them. But we need to allocate at least, I would say, anywhere from 20 to 50% of the tests to people that have very mild symptoms, or even a certain percentage of people that have no symptoms at all. Why? Because people that feel well, or people that feel just slightly under the weather, are going to be the ones that are spreading the virus the most. They're going to be out in society. They're going to be less likely to self-isolate. However, if we gave them a test and that test came back as positive, of course they're going to self-isolate. They will have the knowledge that they're positive with the coronavirus. That way we can cut that transmission off. They won't be out there in society spreading it.
What were your symptoms like?
Yeah, I came back from the trip. I actually didn't have any symptom whatsoever for a full day after I got back. It wasn't until the next afternoon I noticed a slight cough that I associate with what I always get during allergy season. So I didn't think anything of it. And Spain wasn't on the hot list at the time, but then the next morning the cough hadn't gone away, and I'd learned that Spain had been put on the hot list. So I thought, well, you know, nobody's telling me to do so, but I'm a minister of a large church. I have extra responsibilities. I should call somebody and just see if I should be concerned. And they said, yes, you should be concerned. You've been abroad. You had one symptom. But since the beginning, I've only had a slight cough, and that's it. When they took my test, they noticed a slightly elevated heartbeat, but that's it. No symptoms whatsoever. I've never had more than that. In fact, the last few days, I haven't even had the cough. I systematically infected members of 3 different Abrahamic faiths just through the day and a half I was in the office, just for the casual, and I was doing social distancing and all that, but still there are over 30 people who got infected, or at least exposed to it, and are now quarantined. I can't even imagine now the people who have been exposed to somebody like me, they didn't know they were, and now they're carrying the virus, so they haven't been even abroad. They just have one symptom, and they're carrying this thinking they just have an allergy.
You did the right thing. You did the right thing, and you did the best you can. But I mean, it's got to feel horrible, right?
Well, regardless of what it feels like to me, it's just really clear that we need to have a national quarantine now. We needed to have it a week ago.
So these are the people we almost want to prioritize testing on. Those that have very light symptoms or that are completely asymptomatic. You need to do random sampling out there. Even if it's 10% of the tests, we need to be doing testing on anyone and everyone that has any form of the symptoms. If they have the fever, and they have the dry cough, and it's light, and they want to know, should I be going to the store? Should I be visiting with any family? Obviously, you shouldn't if you have any symptoms whatsoever. Even if you have no symptoms, if you can prevent it, you should, or if you can do it, you should be staying home in this time right now because the virus is widespread out there, okay? But I'm just saying we need to test these people. Like for me personally, if I could go get a test today, I would do it. So look at like Kevin Durant. He came out as positive having the coronavirus. He even said himself, I have no symptoms. He has no symptoms. He has no cough. He has no fever. If we didn't test him, he could potentially be out there doing his thing. Just think of all the normal millions of Americans right now that are going about their everyday life. They have no symptoms. They feel fine. They feel great. They might go visit grandma today. You know, they might, hey, I feel fine. And everybody isn't up to date on the news of this virus. This virus potentially spreads 50% of the spread, and 50% of the people that have it and that will eventually have it are going to have no symptoms at all. Think of how scary that is. Half the people that have it are completely unaware. They feel perfectly fine, but they're out there spreading it like crazy. This is why it's so dangerous. This is why it is it's so important to test those people, and in my mind, almost as a priority above the people that have symptoms. Look, it's simple. If you have symptoms, stay home. Don't go out. Don't go to urgent care. Don't go to the doctor's office. You can call your doctor to get advice, but just isolate yourself if you have symptoms. Do I have it? Do I not have it? Who cares if you don't have that test yet? If you have symptoms, err on the side of safety, err on the side of caution. Stay home if you have those symptoms. If you have a cough, if you have a headache, a fever, you think, oh, I don't feel well. I feel weak. I'm getting the chills. I feel like I have the flu. Well, stay home for 15 or 20 days and don't have anyone over. You don't need the test to take that action, right? But people that feel great and they're out there and about, or they have a very, very slight symptom, and they want to take the test because they want to stop their activity if they're positive, they should be able to have the test. That's important. So I'm just saying we need to allocate some percentage of tests for people that have no symptoms or that have weak or light symptoms, moderate symptoms. And I think the government's making a huge, a absolutely catastrophic, a huge mistake by coming out and saying today, we will not be testing people that don't show symptoms. Think about it. Think about the logic of that. All you sick people that have symptoms, the thing is the good news for that is you have symptoms. We can take action on that. Stay home. We don't need a test to take action on that, right? You have symptoms. There's a chance you have it. So stay home. The test is only beneficial to stop people from spreading it that are completely unaware that they have it. Now, if you're so critical that you're really having that shortness of breath or a super high fever, you're having some tough difficulty breathing, or if you're older, yes, you need to call the doctor and you need to schedule a way to get into the hospital so they can see what they can do in terms of trying to help you and give you some sort of treatment, right? But if you have moderate or somewhat weak symptoms, don't panic and say, oh my God, maybe I have it. I need to get tested. Just stay home. Just stay home. And if your symptoms get worse, that's the time for you to take action, and give a call to your doctor or something. So even if you're not sick right now, you see these idiots out on the streets walking around in groups. Like if you're by yourself and you need to get some fresh air, that's fine. I don't blame you. You have a dog, you got to go take him for a walk by yourself, that's fine. Or with people you live with, that's fine. But don't mingle. Don't go out there and shake hands and mingle with people. It's ridiculous. Like I'm just ranting because I can't believe that they're not going to test anyone that's symptom free. I think that's going to come out as being just a gigantic mistake in the future. And let me know if you think it makes sense, because it doesn't make. I'm not saying to use all the tests on people that have no symptoms, but you should be allocating. Like, let's say you're in a hot zone, New York, or anywhere where there's a cluster of cases coming out. I would say like 10 to 20% of the people you should test should just be open. Say, if you want to come down, we have X number of test kits available. If you have no symptoms, come on down, get into the drive-through line to get tested. And we'll see how many cars there are. If we have 50 tests that day, or 10 or whatever it is for asymptomatic people, we'll test that many, and then we'll say, okay, we don't have any more tests for asymptomatic until the next day. But you've got to test those asymptomatic people, because they need to know so they can 100% isolate themselves. And B, it lets us know how prevalent the virus is in that community. If you're testing people with no symptoms and you're getting a reasonable amount of positive tests coming back, that's going to be good information for the public to, geez, here's a certain high percentage of people that are coming back as positive that have no symptoms at all. We need to get that information out to the public because that will increase awareness. People are going to realize. We've not seen something like this where you're very dangerously sick and contagious, but you look and feel perfectly fine. You can't look at somebody like you can with normal flu that's sneezing and coughing. Whoa, I need to stay away from that person. I'm going to stay away from that person. That's nasty. That's sick. They're sitting right next to you in the office or whatever. And people all tell you, go home. You're sick. Go home. With this, it's incredibly scary because you don't have that. We can't look at somebody and know. They don't even know. They feel great. And they're out there spreading it like crazy. We need to test these asymptomatic people to some degree. I just can't believe that Mike Pence comes out and says, we are not going to test asymptomatic people. It's a mistake. We're doing a lot of things right. It's getting taken more seriously than it was before. I'm glad to see all those things. I don't want to just be harping on negative things, but that's so irresponsible, I think. Look at South Korea. They test anyone and everyone that gets into line that needs a test. They have the tests available. They have the capacity over there. And we're getting there in the U.S., but we're not there yet. But at least over there, they're saying, we need to test everyone. If you could test every single person in the country, that would be ideal, but you can't do it. But you got to test some of these people that don't have symptoms because they're the spreaders.